Hi, in this video I'm going to be discussing flight delay compensation and Thomson Airlines. The first thing to note is that because Thomson Airlines are an EU operated airline, you'll be able to make a claim for flights both departing from the UK and also arriving back to the UK. But firstly, you need to know that any flight claim compensation that you're making of Thomson Airlines has to be more than a 3-hour delay, and that 3-hour delay is the delay in the arrival of the flight, not delays in departure. So for example, if the departure of the flight was delayed by more than 3 hours, but during the flight the pilot managed to make up time so that you arrived less than 3 hours late, then you wouldn't be able to make a compensation claim. The other thing to note is that the arrival time is deemed to be when the plane opens its first door, so you have access to getting out into the airport. It's not when the flight lands on the runway. So now we know that it's got to be more than 3 hours delay of arrival. It relates to any flight departing from a UK airport and arriving back to a UK airport, but also the delay has to be the fault of the airline, in this case Thomson. Thomson are responsible for their crew illness, crew being late, the pilot is late to actually get to the airport, and also where there's technical difficulties with the aircraft, because at the end of the day the airline is responsible for having a backup plan whereby these things happen. However, Thomson won't be at fault where it's outside of their control. So bad weather, for example, they wouldn't be at fault. Erupting volcanoes, we all know what happened a few years back when we had an erupting volcano and it caused chaos. That wouldn't be the airline's fault. Bird strikes and also striking crew, that wouldn't be their fault either. So as long as you can prove all of those criteria apply to your flight delay, then you should be in line for compensation. The other criteria that affects the amount of compensation that you would get from Thomson is the length of flight that you were on. The length of flight, the first measure is either less than or more than 1,500 kilometers, and then the next distance is 3,500 kilometers, and depending on where your flight distance falls within that range will depend upon how much compensation you'll receive. And that compensation can be anything from 250 euros all the way through to 600 euros. And in today's exchange rate, that's somewhere between 530 and 540 pounds. And that's per person or per passenger in your party. Also, remember that you can claim back 6 years. So if you've had a delayed flight on Thomson and only just been made aware of this legislation, which is covered by EU law under section 261/2004, you can make a claim. So you can go back 6 years. How do you make a claim? Well, first of all, you would have to write to Thomson, and with that letter, what you would have to include is your evidence of your claim. And the best way to do that would be to send a copy of your boarding pass. Now, also, if you've suffered during the delay any extra costs where the airline, in this case Thomson, haven't picked up the bill for that, so for example refreshments while you're waiting for the plane, so in the delay period, or if it was an overnight delay where you've had to stay in a hotel, the airline is responsible for those, and where they haven't provided for those or provided vouchers and you've paid those out, they will also have to reimburse you for those amounts of expenditure and include those with your letter. So you need to write to Thomson and make sure that you follow that up and make sure you keep copies of everything. So if you have to take it to court, you have all the evidence there in front of you. And I always recommend to send it by recorded delivery, at least one way, to know that the letter has been signed for and been received, but in this case by Thomson. The alternative to that, if you don't like the idea of writing letters, you don't have the time, you're a busy person, or you don't want the hassle to do that, the other alternative is that you get a company to do that for you. Most companies operate a no win, no fee, and that's a good thing because it means there's no risk to you. The claims company will only get paid when they get the compensation for you. So there's no financial risk to you, and it's in their interest to get that claim through. They normally have a legal department, so they're used to dealing with airlines, and they know all the law and all the guidelines behind what a claim or what claims can be made and how much claim or compensation should be paid to you. There is a link below to a website that describes this in a little bit more detail if you want to go down that route, and the choice is yours. So if you're happy to write the letters, you've got the time to do that, then by all means do that yourself and write directly to Thomson. But if you're not inclined to do that, then please by all means click the link below, and I wish you luck with that. Thank you very much for listening.